Are you getting it? They are the variables. So the number of patients is also given. So what we have to do is that first of all, the question is asking us to find standard deviation and then the variance. Variance and standard deviation. So we know the formula for finding variance as sigma f minus 1. The reason why we wrote the sigma f minus 1 under the as the denominator is that since that if the question didn't specify that it is population or sample, we should go by the sample formula. So this is a sample formula for finding the variance. That is why we use that one. And then in the middle of the formula, we can see that there's a need for us to find the mean. Okay, that is the mean over the in the bracket. So that means that before you can find the variance, you need to find your mean first. So there is, you have to draw a table for that, and then the table will include these two were given to us already, but the table will include the midpoint. I said it earlier that this is a group frequency, and then the intervals are not going to be x, but rather you have to find the midpoint. So the midpoint will serve as our x, or will be our x. So that is why you can find the midpoint over here. So the midpoint, we all know the formula. The upper and then the lower limits, you are finding the average, okay? So that is it. And then it also includes f of x. The f of x here is helping us to find the mean, because the formula for finding mean is summation of frequency and then the variable or the x divided by the total summation of the frequency. So that is the f of x. It is helping us to find the mean. And then from there, we come to the deviation. So this is our deviation, the x minus the mean all squared. From there, then it includes, the last one is the f of the deviation, okay? So this, basically, this is the table that you are supposed to draw, okay? So from there, the midpoint, I said, is the average of the upper and then the lower limit. So the 20 plus 25 divided by 2 is equal to 22.5. It's the same thing that, it's the same method that you use for all the classes. And then from there, you come to the number of patients, the frequency was given to us. And then we move on to the f of x. I said the f of x is helping us to find the mean. So it means we are multiplying the frequency, individual frequency of the classes by their midpoint, because the midpoint is the x. This is how you getting me. So individual frequency by their midpoint. So the midpoint that we had for the first class, multiplied by the number of frequency or the number of patients. That is 22.5 times 2 will give you 45. So it's the same approach that we use for all. And then moving on, finding our deviation. The deviation is x, the variable, the midpoint, minus the mean. Here, we've not found the mean yet. So definitely, straight away, you have to come and solve for the mean first. So the mean is sigma f of x over sigma f. And then, so our sigma of f of x, before you can get that, you have to do this multiplication first. So after that, we sum all of them. So that is how come we had the 588. Okay. So from there, you come and substitute it. We already know the frequency. The total frequency is 18. So 588 divided by 80, you get 32.67. I was running it into 2 decimal places, so you can use 3 decimal places if you want. Okay. So now let's move on. So after finding sigma f of x, after finding the mean, that means that we can move ahead and then compute the deviation and then the f of the deviation. Okay, so now the deviation is x minus the mean. We know the mean to be 32.67. So each of the midpoints, when you take them, you subtract the mean from the midpoints. That is how come we use to solve the fourth table. Okay, the last one is you multiplying the frequency, individual frequencies, by their deviation. Okay, so the frequency for the first class was 2. So 2 multiplied by the deviation for the first class. The deviation for the first class was 103.43. So you calculate it and then you solve for it. It's the same approach. Then you use it to fill that table. So from there, finally we have, so this is f of the deviation. And so we have to come and sum all of them up in order for us to get the numerator for the variance, okay, in the formula. That is the sigma f of the deviation. So the sigma f of the deviation is 543 or 543.52. That is what we had. So from there you substitute it. So you come and go to your variance formula. The variance is equal to the summation of the frequency by the deviation divided by the total or the summation of the frequencies. Total frequency minus 1. And I told you that the minus 1 was because the question didn't specify, and you have to choose the sample formula. Okay, so now you substitute the values that we had, the summation of f, the frequency or the total frequency by the deviation was 543.52. Then that is what I've written it here. And then the total frequency was 18. That is the one over here, minus 1. So you calculate it, and then the answer that we had. So for the numerator we had 543.52 divided by the subtraction. We do subtraction by your 18 minus 1. We had 17, and then you calculate it. You get 31.97 cycle or count per minute. And then you square it. So that is for the variance. And then the standard deviation is just you finding the square root of the variance. Okay. So the standard deviation is the square root of the variance. So the variance we have 31.97 count per minute squared. And so you substitute the variance by writing 31.97 in the square root. So the square root of 31.97 will give you 5.65 cycle or count per minute.